Welcome back and thanks for joining me today. I'm your host, Sydney Gard, and this is the Midwest.motogirl podcast. Today we're going to talk about a part of the mental side of motorcycling, specifically tenacity. Tenacity is being determined, persistent, and not giving up easily, even when facing difficulties or setback. It's an emotional and a mental strength that helps someone keep pushing through even in tough situations. So you're probably wondering, that's great, but what does tenacity have to do with motorcycling? And that's what I'm really going to get into today. So tenacity helps when overcoming fear or intimidation. Motorcycling can feel scary and very intimidating at times, regardless of where you're at in your riding journey. I am scared almost every time I go out for a race, and I've been riding for 11 years, and this is going into my third race season. But the tenacity is what helps you push through those fears and those intimidations. Maybe you're scared of dropping your bike or stalling out in traffic. Your tenacity is what's going to help you push through that fear and continue to show up for yourself to ride and to practice your skills. Tenacity also helps you push through mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes while they're riding. Maybe you stalled the bike, maybe you dropped the bike in a garage, maybe you're at a track day and you blew a corner, rode off the track in the grass or the sand pit. Heck, maybe that mistake is even so big it causes a crash. Those things happen. Those things are part of the sport. No one is perfect with anything in life, including motorcycling. But tenacity keeps you from getting discouraged and throwing in the towel because of whatever mistake it was that you made. Now, I'm not telling you that you're not going to be upset with yourself, and I'm not telling you that you aren't going to need a minute to collect your emotions. That's not what tenacity is. But it does mean that you've gathered yourself, and once you've done that, you'll come back to your motorcycle and push through to continue riding and continue working on those skills. There's a lot of feeling that goes into motorcycling. So your clutch control, your throttle control, your balance at lower speeds, counter steering, all those things take feeling. And for some people, that feeling comes naturally. They pick up on it quickly. Other people need more time to practice and to build like a muscle memory of that feeling. The tenacity is what is going to help you be patient with yourself while you're trying to improve your skills. And it will help you stay consistent in your riding so that you can build muscle memory. So maybe you're not good at clutch control right off the bat. You don't know exactly how far to let out the clutch and how much gas to give it from a stop so that you can take off smoothly. And that's something that you can be practiced. And as you have tenacity, or if you have tenacity, that will push you through to continue practicing, and eventually you will be able to master that skill. Again, it just takes practice. Most people are going to deal with plateaus in their riding where it feels like you're stuck and you aren't progressing anymore, and that's okay. There's a lot of things in life where plateaus occur. Weight loss is a big one, for example. But in weight loss, when you reach a plateau, you don't just give up and throw away months of hard work because your progress has stalled or slowed down. And it's the same thing with motorcycling. There's times where your improvement may slow down and you feel like you're plateaued, but tenacity is going to help you be patient and remember that while progress has slowed, it's still happening. A big example of this is in motorcycle racing, where you're measuring your skill level against other riders based on your lap times. You may have huge improvements in lap time the second or the third time you ride at a new track, but after you get comfortable at that track and you've already increased your speeds and improved your times from, say, the first time you rode there, the lap time improvements are going to be much smaller. And when this happens, it's your tenacity that's going to help you remember that it's normal for that to happen. And while the improvements are small, each time you're riding, you're still making progress. The more you ride, whether that's on the street, on the track, or off-road, the more confidence grows each time you ride. And tenacity is what keeps you there long enough that you're able to get comfortable and build confidence in your riding abilities. When I started racing, I had been riding for 8 years, and I had been doing track days for 3 or 4 years pretty regularly. I definitely was not the fastest rider on the street or at a track day. I'm still not. Heck, there are times where lots of times that I have finished last in a race. But I still have the desire to go and race. And that very first year that I started racing, Even though I was not the fastest rider at a track day, I still had the desire to get my race license and give road racing a shot. In my first episode, I touched briefly on applying for Royal Enfield's Build Train Race program and not getting in, which kind of lit a fire under me to find another way to go racing on my own because I really, really wanted to give road racing a shot. And a handful of people from my local track day were racing with an organization called ARMA, which stands for American Historic Road Racing Motorcycle Association. ARMA had announced their schedule for the following race season, and I saw that they were going to come to 2 tracks close to me the next year. So I thought, okay, well, that would be a good place to get my feet wet because I can race at 2 tracks close to home that I know fairly well already. And I also mentioned in a previous episode, I had been doing track days with a Triumph Daytona 675, which would have put me in a modern middleweight sport bike class. And I knew I could not be competitive there. And honestly, it probably wasn't even safe for me to be riding in that class because I knew other riders from my local track day that were in that class, and they were like 30 seconds a lap faster than me. So there was a big difference in skill, lap times, even closing speeds if I were to get past, which I would have, but I still wanted to race. So I pretty much had made up my mind that I was going to get a different bike to start racing because I wanted to do it so badly. And I found that ARMA had a novice class. Novice is kind of a way to say new riders or less experienced riders. But the catch was with this novice class, you had to ride a 1978 or older motorcycle because their novice class was a vintage class. So I said, all right, I'm mechanically inclined. I know how to work on bikes, and what I don't know, I want to learn. So I'll buy a vintage bike and I'll set it up for racing. So I ended up buying a bike from somebody I knew that was in pieces, and I spent the entire winter working on this motorcycle just to find out there was a problem with the transmission. I wasn't going to be able to have it ready in time for me to race that year. And so I pivoted and said, well, I'll buy a different bike that's eligible and is already race ready. I found one in Illinois. I went to pick it up like a week before the first race. And I didn't actually ride it when I picked it up. I picked it up from a storage facility, and the parking lot at the facility was all gravel. So I was not comfortable riding it on gravel. So I started it. I had it running. I ran it through all the gears. But like I said, never actually rode it when I picked it up. So fast forward a week to Friday race practice. And that's where any new racers had to take a class where they would ride with instructors and do some classroom sessions to qualify for a race license. Basically, they just want new racers to know and understand the procedures. They want the instructors to show you the race lines if you've never been to that track before, follow you to make sure that you're fairly consistent where you're going to be safe on the track for other people to pass. And so I went to that race school, and I had never ridden this bike in more than one gear. I rode it around the block in my neighborhood once or twice the week prior to, as I had been working on it and was kind of checking things out. And so I never had it through multiple gears. And so because I had not ridden it very much, or hardly at all, I was very, very uncomfortable on this bike. And because I'd only had it a week, I had not been able to go through it with a fine-toothed comb. So long story short, my first race weekend and get the class for getting my race license was kind of a disaster because it was raining, was on an unfamiliar bike, and had lots of mechanical issues with the motorcycle. So it was kind of an emotional roller coaster. But I was so determined to get my race license and to give road racing a shot that I was willing to do whatever it took to make it happen. And that's tenacity. It would have been really, really easy for me to say, I'll just try again another weekend. I'll go to a different racetrack and retake the race school. But I was not willing to accept that as an answer until I had tried literally everything that I could to get through that weekend and get my race license. And so right now you're probably thinking, well, that's cool that you're tenacious and that you're a determined person, but like, what does that have to do with me? How do I become tenacious? So some people naturally have more of a can-do type attitude. Others have to learn how to be tenacious over time. So for me, there have been times in life where I'm really determined and have a lot of tenacity. And there's other times where I just cannot find the determination. I'm filled with self-doubt and lots of limiting beliefs, and it ends up making me throw in the towel on things plenty of times. So it's not just like you have tenacity and you don't. Tenacity is something that you can learn, and it's like training a muscle or getting stronger. But in this case, you're specifically training your brain to be resilient. It takes intention, it takes effort, and it takes repetition to build your tenacity over time. So I want to talk about some actionable things that you can do to help build tenacity. And as you build your tenacity, it will help you overcome challenges in your motorcycle journey. And I assure you there will be some challenges. So when you're trying to build your tenacity, start with small challenges. Take on small tasks in everyday life that challenge you and push you outside of your comfort zone just a little bit, but not so far that you feel overwhelmed. This could be something simple like finishing a book you've been working on for a year, or sticking to a new routine for a couple of weeks. Or in the case of motorcycling, it could be something small with a way to measure your improvement, like wanting to improve your clutch control. So if you were trying to improve your clutch control and that was the small challenge you were going to take on, you can practice your clutch control in a parking lot or in your driveway, where you're learning how to feather the clutch in and out so you don't stall your bike at low speeds. And you can also practice getting used to the feel for how far you let out the clutch and how much throttle you need to take off controllably from a complete stop. And as you practice that, your measurable result is that you're not stalling your bike anymore. And taking on these small challenges will help build tenacity, because the small wins are going to help you build confidence, and they're going to make you feel like you're achieving something. It also helps develop the habit of not quitting, which is a real thing. Sometimes you have to practice not quitting. Learn how to shift your mindset. Shifting your mindset can help you see failure as a part of the process and as a learning opportunity rather than just being the end-all be-all. So instead of thinking, I can't do this, reframe your statement as, I can't do this yet. I was not the fastest rider on the street when I tried out track day. I was not the fastest rider at a track day when I decided to make the jump to racing. But both of those jumps took a mindset shift for me, where instead of telling myself I'm not fast enough, I started saying I want to get faster. And the more that I told myself I want to get faster, the more it motivated me to do the things that help me become a faster rider, such as going to a track day or such as signing up for a race. And that mental shift where you're breaking down those limiting beliefs that are preventing you from getting to the next step are what keep you focused on the growth instead of perfection. Practice consistency. Tenacity is not about one big dramatic effort. It's about showing up consistently for yourself and putting in the work. So you are not going to go to the gym one time and lose weight. It takes time, and it takes you showing up to the gym consistently. It takes you eating healthy consistently. You do not learn a new skill or become proficient at that skill just by doing it once. To become proficient at it, you practice, and you continue practicing. It's just like this podcast. I know that all of my episodes are not perfect. They are not going to be perfect. My editing skills are not great right now, but I'm learning, and each new episode that I produce, I'm becoming a little bit more proficient using the editing software. I'm becoming a little bit more proficient in how I speak so that I'm not saying and so and having big blank time where I'm just trying to fill time rather than actually speaking with a purpose. But as I'm producing these podcasts, each time I'm becoming a little bit more proficient. I'm becoming more proficient in the editing software, and my message gets a little bit more clear. And motorcycles and tenacity are the exact same. You have to show up consistently. So when you're making a small mistake on your motorcycle, you keep showing up and you keep consistently practicing. And eventually you won't make that mistake anymore. Or when you make a bigger mistake, one that potentially causes a crash, you don't want to quit motorcycling altogether. when that bigger mistake comes, instead you are able to regroup, learn from it, continue practicing, and grow from that crash so you can become a better motorcycle rider. Try to surround yourself with tenacious people. This is a lot harder than it sounds because as adults, I know that it can be really hard to make new friends. But if you can surround yourself with people that are driven and persistent, their mindset will start to rub off on you over time. And they will help normalize sticking to things and pushing through challenges. So one way that you could do this without having to go and find a whole new friend group is to look for people in your workplace that always seem like they're going above and beyond, or they always have a positive attitude. Just find ways to talk to them and get to know them, and eventually their mindset will start to rub off on you. The opposite is also true. If you are surrounding yourself with negative people, or people that are unmotivated or willing to throw in the towel and give up at the first sign of adversity, your mindset can also degrade over time, and you'll fall into that negativity as well. And this is where you can really end up feeling stuck and unhappy, and you just don't know how to change it. I experienced that in my life probably about 5 years ago. I experienced that with my motorcycle riding. At the time, I was dating somebody who was not into motorcycle riding very much. He rode a dirt bike a little bit, but he thought that street riding was kind of silly, and he thought going to the racetrack was a waste of money. And so as I would go to track days, he would stay home, he would not come with me. And then when I got home, he would tell me how dumb it was that I spent that amount of money to go and ride at a racetrack when I could ride just down the street from the house. And over time, as I was surrounding myself with that mindset, I slowly stopped going to the track. And as I slowly stopped going to the track, my riding skills stopped progressing. And then slowly I stopped riding on the street as much because I was like, well, he doesn't like street riding, so I just won't street ride. And it took a mental shift for me to say, wait, I actually really like riding motorcycles. I really like going to the track, and it's really good for me. I'm going to go and try it again. And I was so ready to throw in the towel. I had gone to a track day, had spent the day by myself, had a horrible time, and I was ready to quit and throw in the towel. I was going to sell my track bike. And I said, I'm going to do one more track day, and I'm either going to have a great time and I'm going to keep doing it, or I'm going to be done altogether. And that was kind of like the turning point for me. And I'd already started working on a mental shift at that point. And so I went to that track day with a very open mind, ready to enjoy myself, ready to become a faster rider. I ended up meeting a girl that was there with her boyfriend, and she hung out with me and talked to me all day long. Then later in the day, I met another girl who lived close to me. We ended up becoming friends, and I had a great time and said, oh my gosh, this was awesome. So the following season, I started doing more track days. And that mental shift where I ended up telling myself I'm either going to quit or I'm going to go and have fun, that was kind of like the turning point for me in track days, which then led to motorcycle racing. Because after that, I went back to the track with an open mind. I did 2 more seasons of track riding, and every time that I went to the track, I kept telling myself, I want to get faster, I want to get faster, I want to get better, I want to get better. And that desire to get faster and to get better, instead of saying I'm not fast enough, telling myself I want this, kind of made the shift for me where I could take the next step. And so try to find your why. Try to find a clear reason for yourself why you want to do something. Ask yourself, why do you want to be a better motorcycle rider? Why do you want to master a certain riding technique? Why do you want to be part of the motorcycle community? Why do you want to ride at the track? Why do you think you want to go racing? All of those questions, any of those questions. But your why can only come from you. And sometimes it takes time to figure out what that why is. And a lot of times, my experience was that it took a lot of self-reflection and a mindset shift to figure out why I wanted to be there. But once I had figured out why I wanted to be there, and I had a solid why, it made my tenacity much stronger, and it will do the same for you too. In summary, having tenacity is going to help you overcome fears in your motorcycle riding. It's going to help you learn to be patient with yourself, be consistent to keep improving your riding skills, and it's going to help you overcome the challenges that you are going to face on your motorcycle journey. You can build tenacity by being intentional with your actions and with your mindset. You can start out with small challenges that you can overcome to build a habit of not quitting. You can work on shifting your mindset and breaking down those limiting beliefs. You can practice consistency. And you can surround yourself with tenacious people and think about it and figure out what your why is. The word tenacity and its meaning is specifically important to me in my motorcycle riding because that first race weekend that was an emotional roller coaster and a disaster, at the end of the weekend, I had another racer compliment me on my tenacity. And he was somebody from that rode at my local track. And he was one of the best riders at our local track days. So he was helping as an instructor for the race school. And he was by my side basically throughout the weekend, seeing all the mechanical things that I was dealing with on my motorcycle, seeing me overcome adversity and like the emotional roller coaster that I was going through. And like I said, he gave me a compliment at the end of the weekend on my tenacity. And that was almost 3 years ago. And that compliment meant so much and played such a huge role in keeping me going. My first year of racing, every single race weekend was an act of overcoming challenges and learning how to get comfortable feeling uncomfortable. And I know that's a cliche saying about be comfortable being uncomfortable, but it's so true. And once you get to that point where you are okay with being uncomfortable, that's the area where you're going to grow the most. And just being on a vintage bike that was different than what I was used to and all the mechanical issues that come along with a vintage bike because of age and technology at that point in time is part of what made it so challenging. And I did not know very many people in the racing community my first year. So there was a couple of races my first year that I had to travel to. And I basically traveled to them without having a plan. My second race was in Illinois at Black Hawk Farms Raceway. And I did know that the person that gave me the compliment, I knew him, but not well. And I knew one of his friends that was also a racer. So like I knew both of them. I had talked to both of them before, but I did not know them well. And I basically told them, hey, I'm going to come to this race. Can I park next to you guys? And the whole time I'm going there thinking like, I don't know this track. I don't know what the pit setup is like. I'm towing a trailer and I'm not good at parking a trailer. Like, is the pit set up in a way that I'm going to be able to park and be able to get in and out and not look like a fool? And so all of these things are going through my mind and I'm feeling very uncomfortable. But I had so much excitement about going, and my why on why I wanted to race was so strong and the tenacity was there that it kept me going. And just somebody complimenting me on that and telling me that my can-do attitude was amazing and that they were proud of me for that tenacity and that can-do attitude, it really pushed me and it gave me a fuel. So I'm hoping that some of this resonated with you and can help you push through challenges in your motorcycle journey in the same way that it's helped me. Like I said, tenacity as a word and what its meaning is has been so important to keeping me going through the challenges and pushing through the struggles with motorcycle racing that I thought it was important enough to talk about it as a whole episode. And I'm really, really hoping that some of this resonated with you and then it can help you in the same way that it's helped and meant so much to me. So thanks for listening today. Please leave your questions, comments under this episode, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Bye.